Still got it, baby!
Welcome back to another edition of Dave Smith Unleashed. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube page, Dave Smith Unleashed. And we love hearing from you. We love reading your comments. We also love reading your comments on my Twitter page, @DaveSportsGuy. Well, Old Man Rivers. Remember that old song, Old Man River? Well, now it's Old Man Rivers. That's Philip Rivers has returned for the Indianapolis Colts today. And I say bravo to Philip Rivers. I mean, this was a tough assignment today. 44 years old. He's been on his couch the past 5 years. He hasn't played in the National Football League in 5 years. Now at the advanced age of 44. Dave Smith Unleashed brought to you by MTS Transportations. And mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment for all your shipping, trucking, and freight needs. There's only one business to call, and that's MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873. MTS Transportations, 800-640-6873. Less than a week of practice with the Indianapolis Colts, and it's on the road against a very good Seahawks team who are now 11-3. One of the best defenses in the NFL and an intense, maybe the toughest place to play in the National Football League with their crowd there in Seattle. And you know you're going to get bad weather with the rain, the wind, and the cold weather. So tough situation for Philip Rivers that they threw him into with less than a week of practice, 5 years off, and 44 years old. And all in all, I thought he played pretty well. So bravo to Old Man Rivers, 18 for 27, 120 yards passing, threw a touchdown in the first half, and he had an interception, but that doesn't really count. That was on a Hail Mary at the end of the game when they were down 18-16. But I thought who should be criticized here is the head coach, Shane Steichen. I thought the game plan was ultra conservative. I thought all the runs up the middle on first down, and he did it for 4 quarters. I mean, put Philip in second and longs and third and longs the entire game. I mean, and he was in a bad situation because of his coach's inept play calling. And how about in the first half? He threw a beautiful deep ball. His receiver, Josh Downs, was 10 yards behind the defense. He threw a beautiful ball that should have been an easy 50-yard touchdown. Except the idiot, this guy, Josh Downs, he didn't know the ball was coming his way. He's got his hand in the air saying he's open. He's 10 yards behind the defender, and he never saw the ball. He didn't know it was coming. The ball almost hit him in the freaking head, and then it landed right near his feet. I mean, that's ball game there. You hit a touchdown there, you go up 20-3, the game's over. And that would have won the game, looking at the final score. So he's got a receiver who's inexcusably doesn't know where the ball is when he's wide open. That cost him a touchdown. And I thought Steichen's play calling at the end of the game, I know. It's too conservative all day. I guess you don't want to risk throwing downfield with the 44-year-old guy. It's all dumps and swing passes and short stuff over the middle. But he threw deep once, and it was right on target. Why didn't you try it again, Coach? He can do it. He's shown he can do it throughout his career. And the end of the game was what really, as my dad used to say, watered me off. They kick a 60-yard field goal, the Colts, but it's good for Groupie for making a 60-yarder to go up 16-15, but it was another bad decision by the head coach. Colts are down 15-13. They've got the ball at the 43-yard line of the Seahawks. And evidently he was confident his kicker could make a 60-yard field goal. Runs up the middle for no gain with the Seahawks down to 1 timeout and 53 seconds left. You've got to throw there. You need another first down. Number 1, a 60-yard field goal is not likely to be made. And number 2, if you convert and get a first down, you have third and fourth downs to convert. If you convert and get a first down, well, then the game's over. You'll have the ball in easy field goal range, and Seattle's out of timeouts. You run the clock down to 3 seconds, you kick the field goal, and you get the hell out of there with a win. And give the old man Rivers a great send-off. But no, he runs up the middle on third down, and I said, well, he's got to go for it on fourth down. No, out comes the field goal unit. He was playing for a 60-yard field goal, which to me is stupid coaching. Now, luckily for the coach and good for Groupie, he made the 60-yard field goal. Okay, that's fine. Now they're up 16-15, but they left 50 seconds for the Seahawks. Way too much time for Sam Darnold and company. And you know what? Steichen got exactly what he deserved. Darnold marked them down the field. 56-yard field goal as time expired. Seahawks win 18-16. The conservative play calling, all the runs on first down, never throwing deep when Philip showed he could throw deep in the first half, which should have been a touchdown. And that play calling at the end of the game. Yes, he made the 60-yard field goal, but another first down. But all in all, I thought Philip played pretty well today. So now you have to go. Now you have to think about, now that they saw that he can be 44 years old and play pretty effectively in the National Football League after 5 years off. And again, he could have never done this 20, 30 years ago. You know, now that the NFL's been wussified, you can't touch the quarterback anymore. You can't touch wide receivers anymore. So, yeah, you can play till you're 45 or 50 now. If you're never getting hit, you can still throw. That's why Tom Brady was still an effective quarterback at 45. He never would have made it to 45, 20, 25 years ago. 35 was about it back then because the quarterbacks took so much punishment. But they've changed the rules. They've wussified the game. So now guys like Phillip Rivers can come back and be effective because they don't have to worry about getting hit anymore. They're playing flag football in the National Football League. Tom Brady said he's considering a comeback, and I think I could do it. But the reason I don't is because I have partial ownership of the Raiders, and that presents a problem because owners aren't allowed to play. There's ways around that, Tom. You can transfer your ownership to one of your sons, to somebody in your family, to your parents. You can put it in trust for them. Then you can come back and play. Transfer ownership temporarily to somebody in your family. And could he do it at 48? Absolutely, I think he could. Will he be the best quarterback in the NFL? I don't think so, but he'll be better than most. Keeps himself in good shape. He can still throw. And again, you can't touch the freaking quarterback anymore. They're playing flag football. Yes, Brady could come back. And now that he says he's thinking about it, that kind of excites me. Although I don't think he wants to do it with the silver and crap, because the commitment to excrement might be the worst team I've ever seen. Based on that, what was it, 38-0 loss, whatever it was on Sunday. They are god-awful to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't know if Pete Carroll should be fired or given a trophy for NFL Coach of the Year, because winning 2 games with that pile of shit, that embarrassment. Winning 2 games is a miracle. And they beat the Patriots one of those games. How about the Manning brothers? Peyton's 51 and Eli's 44. Why not? Why not come back a la Phillip Rivers? They've had a lot of time off. Peyton retired 9 years ago. Eli retired in 2020. They've been refreshed. They got some gas in the tank announcing the Monday Night Football games on the Manning cast. Why not? If Phillip Rivers can do, how about Archie Manning? He's only 76. I know we're getting ridiculous, but Archie was a great quarterback himself. You could have a grandfather, grandsons, and then when Arch gets into the league, you could have 3 generations of Mannings playing. But realistically, I think Peyton and Eli, of course, I think they could do it. How about John Elway? Yeah. At 65, no. Dan Marino at 64, no. Joe Montana at 69. If anybody could do it in the 60s, in their 60s, it's those 3, but probably not. How about Drew Brees? He's only 46. He's one of the great quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, a Super Bowl champion. He was the all-time leader in yardage, completions, and touchdowns when he retired. He's still only 46. Why not? Why not Drew Brees making a comeback? How about Big Ben Roethlisberger? He's only 43. I think after a couple of years off, he's refreshed the arm. Maybe he hasn't gotten too far out of shape because he was fat even when he played. Maybe he could do. Brett Favre. Brett's 56. I saw some film of him the other day down in Mississippi. He was working out with the local high school team. I think he's an assistant coordinator or a quarterback's coach there. He volunteers and helps out. At 56, he was throwing the ball to his receivers there, and he was gunning it. It looked like the Favre of, he's still got a good arm. Even at 56, I think he's still better than some quarterbacks in the National Football League. But the one I think could really do it here. Andrew Luck is only 36 years old. He retired at the age of 29. Now he's the general manager of the Stanford football program. Andrew Luck is a guy at 36. I think he can come back and play effectively. He's only had 7 years off. Although I'm not sure he wants to do it, but that's another guy. So how about this list? Tom Brady, Peyton and Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, and Andrew Luck. How about all of them coming back? Well, now that old man Rivers has done, and I thought it was a successful comeback today, even though they lost. I thought he was pretty good out there. And I think the main reason that the Colts lost on Sunday The problem was the coach, Shane Steichen. An ultra-conservative game plan. Why do you run the ball on first down every series? Come on, give this 44-year-old guy a break. Get him in better down and distance situations. He's second and long, third and long the entire game. He threw a beautiful deep ball to Josh Downs, and the dumbass didn't know the ball was coming, and it almost hit him in the head when he was 10 yards behind the defense. That should have been a touchdown. So he showed he could throw it deep. Why didn't you try it again? Why do you run up the middle on 3rd and 7 with less than a minute left on the 43, down by 2? You're playing for a 60-yard field goal. Yeah, he made it. Good for you. You want a cookie? Huh? But you left 52 seconds on the clock. And, of course, Seattle came back down, got into field goal position, and won the game behind Sam Darnold. So I thought it was a comedy of errors by Shane Steichen, and one of the worst jobs of coaching I've ever seen. Let me know what you think. Go to the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast on YouTube, and, of course, hit me up on X, on Twitter, @Dave Sports God. And we'll talk to you next time on Dave Smith Unleashed.